What is up, YouTube? Welcome to PanFro Games, and we have some massive Pokemon news today. We have a new Pokemon game that has leaked. Now, this may actually be a canceled Pokemon game. It's definitely incredibly interesting, and I would have loved to play some Pokemon Rodeo. And of course, guys, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it. Consider supporting the channel by joining a Pan fan by hitting that join channel member button below. So yes, there is a new Pokemon game that has leaked. The code name for the game was Pokemon Rodeo, and it was a multiplayer online game that featured co-op, and it was actually a Nintendo Switch and a mobile game. You're able to like play between Switch and mobile. It was like this new and unique type of idea, and this was actually being made around the time of Pokemon Sword and Shield. This was going to be a game that was last in active development in 2020, so we have to assume that this game has either been canceled outright or turned into something else. It seems to have been turned into Project Synapse, which is another Pokemon game we talked about in our previous videos that seems to be some sort of like online battle simulator in some way, shape, or form. So this is Rodeo, and Rodeo is a game where you would ride onto your Pokemon into like an open world area. It would be like co-op where you and your friends would ride around in an open world area, complete objectives, capture Pokemon, even battle Pokemon. And there was a massive PowerPoint presentation that had all of this info. So this is like generally how you would actually ride. You would ride like right on the Pokemon's head, which is pretty funny. And you get this really dope look at Garchomp in the game too, which is pretty sweet as well. Now, supposedly, these were the candidates for the Pokemon Rodeo Pokemon you would play as and you would get. So it wasn't like a full like Pokemon Dex, because this is a spin-off game at the end of the day. So the Pokemon you could have got, and since obviously you can also see that there's Pokemon Sword and Shield sprites here used in this PowerPoint presentation, that's how you know it was made during the Sword and Shield era, and most likely it won't ever come out because it is currently 2024. So we had Beware, Charizard, Samurott, Blastoise, Electivire, Magnezone, Decidueye, Rillaboom, Obama Conch Elder, Drapion, Golurk, Garchomp, Hatterena, Golisopod, Tyranitar, Dusclops, or not Dusknoir, I mean, Salamence, Hydreigon, Corviknight, Entei, Suicune, Raikou, Savali, and Ho-Oh. And it seemed that Zacian and Zamazenta would have been special Pokemon that you would get at some sort of future event. But this was their general idea. Some of these are pretty funny. Like, I don't know how you're going to make Hatterena into a Pokemon you would ride on. It's not very fast in general, but I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess it would hop everywhere. But some of these are pretty interesting choices. Would have loved to play with the legendary beast in this game. Looks pretty sick in general. So this is actually our first look at what the protagonist would have looked like. And you would have been able to customize yourself with different closing options that you would be able to purchase. It sort of is like a mobile game in that regard, where, you know, you can spend money and be able to get different items for, you know, customization for you and both your Pokemon you were able to customize in the game. And speaking about Pokemon customization, it seems like they were leaning into customizing your Pokemon by applying different paint marks to them. So this is like an example of like different paint marks in a different color. So we have like white marks and red marks, and you could like mark them up however you wanted. It's sort of like a racing game where you can like spray decals on your Pokemon. That's essentially what they were going for with this. And this is incredibly interesting. I also want to mention that like the Garchomp model here is incredibly muscular. So the art style of this game would have definitely been a lot different than the usual Pokemon or Pokemon spin-off game art that we would have seen. So I think this is actually really cool art in general of the Garchomp, but it's really cool that they were like, hey, we can just like put different like decals on your Pokemon. This would have been funny for like customization. I'm sure people could have made a lot of funny memes with this stuff as well. Now, how would you do the customization? There was a paint gun from this dude here, and he would have Smeargle, and essentially he would take his paint gun and he would decal your Pokemon literally like you're at a car shop. So this is sort of like a Pokemon racing game in some like low-key vibes. I mean, it's still like an open world game where you have battles and moves, but there is a lot of like car aspects that I would see from like a Need for Speed, which I actually think is pretty sweet. And we had a little bit of looks at how the paint gun would have worked here. So yes, technically Pokemon did have guns in a scrapped game, but you know, Palworld definitely beat them to it for a release. Now we actually have video gameplay, which is definitely the most exciting part of this. So literally you would be riding on the Pokemon's head, which I always think is incredibly weird about this. Definitely not something I would expect. And we do actually have a little bit of audio of the music here. So let's play it. So yeah, you can literally surf our Garchomp like that, dude. Like, that is insane. That is absolutely insane. You can surf and then like attack right into it. Here's some gameplay of like running around on the Decidueye. This one looks a lot more normal than the Garchomp, to be fair. Like, I don't know why you're running on the Garchomp's head like that, but this one looks a lot better. But honestly, the Garchomp's Transversal definitely would have been the Pokemon of my choice. We also get Electivire here. Yeah, you just go onto his fist. He's charging up. Oh, he's not even on his fist. He's holding you by the tail. Oh, that's actually sick. And like, the combat definitely felt more actiony. It wasn't like turn-based combat. It was like you're in an open world and you're like beating up mobs, which is really cool. And actually, this Electivire is pretty sick, honestly. I think this game should have released. This is a fire video game. And then our first look at Samurott. Samurott looking very muscular and shiny as well, which is super interesting. This is honestly how it would definitely be on a Samurott, though. Once again, the Garchomp being the weirdest ride Pokemon so far. Not much going on here, but it is rather interesting to see. So we do have even more gameplay to go over. So yeah, you get support Pokemon. So you ride on your Garchomp and you can use your support Pokemon, very similar to how Pokken works, where you have support Pokemon while you're fighting, to send them out in battle and they will deal damage, they will debuff the enemy, you know, so lots of different options for you. And it seems like you can hold a couple support Pokemon at a time. And so yeah, we got Geodude here. He would come out. He would just like smash the ground, essentially using like Magnitude, which is pretty cool. You got Piplup using Surf, and you can see we have a test dummy. Of course, the perfect test dummy is always going to be like a Wobbuffet, so that's pretty funny too. And you know, more Piplup gameplay, just hanging out, look at that little moonwalk on the Piplup. Like, that shit's cute AF. Like, come on, that's awesome, dude. This is a little nice long animated clip though. And we also get like defensive moves. So not only you would get offensive attacks, you would get some defensive moves, like with this Geodude putting up like this sort of like halo bubble shield around you. So it seems like there could have been like some bullet hell aspects to it, where a lot of projectiles would be on the field and you would have to like dodge and, you know, potentially block them like this. Now it's our first look at the controls of the game, which is actually rather interesting. I don't have this translated, but it seems like it would have been like a full-on action game instead of like a traditional style Pokemon game for sure. We get this sick animation of capturing a rampaging Pokemon. And, you know, it's sort of like, you know, once you jump on it, you mount it, and then you master it, and then it becomes your ride Pokemon. So it seems like all the Pokemon that we showed on that sheet earlier would have been Pokemon that technically would have been bosses for you to encounter and capture, which is actually really sick. But lastly, it seems like we really don't know what is happening with this game. So this is probably not ever going to come out. But as I mentioned before, Project Synapse seems to be the newer version of this game. So maybe this game does live on in some way, shape, or form, but we probably won't know, and maybe we'll never actually know. But it really does seem to be very interesting. So there is a chance that this could come out, but I wouldn't hold my breath. And also we get a little bit more images here of like the Garchomp being like captured, and then we get the Garchomp who is enraged, and this is essentially like the boss form of the Garchomp. There we have it, guys. That is everything we know about Project Rodeo. Hopefully this game comes out one day, because it was pretty sweet. But of course, guys, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it. Catch you guys next time. Peace out and have a good one.